Hi there, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we have some Talk Bubbles background card to share with you using the Simon Says Stamp October 2021 card kit. You get this amazing Talk Bubbles stencil in the kit, a whole pack of Simon Says Stamp cardstock card fronts. I'm picking one out now. I think this is like the cream color, kind of off-white color background. So they are already measured to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. We're going to use the card front. We are going to use the stencil. We're going to use the stamp set. All things from the kit. We're also going to use an envelope from the kit. Really awesome. So this Talk Bubbles stencil is the star of the show for this card. I'm pairing it with some Simon Says Stamp Positively saturated inks. This first ink color is Seafoam. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes to add the color. So I am simply just kind of centering the kind of long skinny thought bubble in the center of my panel and adding the ink, trying to get a nice seamless smooth blend. We're going to fill the entire front of this panel with thought bubbles to create our own kind of pattern paper background. Now you could do this with any of those card fronts and just kind of switch up your ink colors depending on what base you start with. I obviously wanted to use some lighter colors of ink, so I started with a lighter base. But if you want to use some darker colors or kind of get some different looks, you could use a little bit darker cardstock. I would definitely kind of go on the lighter end of the spectrum with your cardstock color choices, but you can use anything here as long as your ink will show up over the top. So you can create some really fun Talk Bubble backgrounds. Next, I'm going to line up my next stencil and I'm going to grab my ink blending tool here, my ink blending brush, and we're going to use the Cheeky Positively Saturated ink. Now you'll notice that I am stenciling or blending right up next to that first Talk Bubble, but not really going over the top. I want it to appear that this Talk Bubble is back behind the Seafoam one. I'm again going to wipe down my stencil and I'm going to line up another one. Now I think I may stencil some of this off camera. I apologize. I had zoomed in for coloring on my previous card without realizing I hadn't zoomed back out, so I will zoom out here in a second. Stay with me. I am so sorry. I've had a lot of requests to zoom in a little closer for the coloring, and sometimes I just forget. I get to creating and I completely forget to zoom back out. I am stenciling a yellow Talk Bubble over on the left side with the Sunbeam ink. And yes, that is out of frame a little bit, but I will move it as soon as I'm done. I do have a couple of pieces of Post-it tape that I'm using, and that's just to kind of help mask off areas as needed and hold my stencil in place. So there is the yellow Talk Bubble in there. I zoomed out, so we should be good now. And I'm going to use every Talk Bubble shape on here. You could do this with, you could create something similar if you have Thought Bubble or Talk Bubble shaped dies, all kinds of things. I know that Lawn Fawn has like a cover plate and things that have Talk Bubbles or thought bubbles on them where you can create kind of similar looks. I don't know about you guys, but I love stencils. I love stenciling all of the things. I love being able to play with our inks and our blending brushes and really kind of create it in any color and keep it nice and flat. Stencils have that great, they give you the look of dimension without all those extra layers, which I love. That is the Peachy Positively Saturated ink, and you can kind of see it all starting to come together. We're going to do the more cloud-shaped bubble now with the Positively Saturated Celery ink. I'm filling in more of the big areas, and then I am going to fill in the smaller areas with extra thought bubbles so that the entire background is filled. I also tried not to speed up the video too terrible much to make it a little bit easier to see what I am doing. Again, I am avoiding anything that's overlapping. I'm just kind of trying to pull my blending brush close, but not all the way to the line because I do not want to overlap and kind of get that ugly, muddy look. Isn't that looking cute? So we'll clean our stencil again, and then I'm going to fill in this little area right here along the right side with another orange talk bubble. This time we're going to go back to our peachy ink and just stencil in this little half bubble right here. And that really fills out the right side of our panel. And now we need to kind of fill in the 3 little open areas along the left. So up here at the top, we're going to go back to our seafoam ink, and we're going to ink that talk bubble with seafoam. I tried to do about 2 of each color. I think the only exception is yellow. I just didn't have space for another yellow talk bubble. So there's seafoam up at the top. We're gonna go down to the bottom now and just stencil in like a little curved edge with our cheeky ink. Again, this is the lightest pinky red color ink. And we're just gonna stencil that right there. And then that little space between the yellow and the orange, we're going to stencil another celery little piece of a thought bubble to finish out our panel. Now, one thing I did before I started stenciling is I knew I wanted to use that long sentiment from the So Talkative 6x8 stamp set included in the October kit. It reads, "Sending so many happy thoughts, I can't contain them all." I knew that was going to go in the center, and so I purposely stenciled that talk bubble first and then built around it. We're going to fill in a couple of the other thought bubbles with more sentiments from So Talkative, but that was how I planned this card as I got started. So kind of starting in the center and working my way out. Now this So Talkative stamp set I think is going to be a favorite. It is so good. It is completely a sentiment stamp set. It has a combination of a little bit bigger sentiments and then smaller phrases, but none of them are super teeny tiny. They are all an amazing font. They all are fantastic sentiments and really usable and can be mixed and matched. I'm a huge fan of really good sentiment stamp sets, and this is an amazing one. So I am stamping "Sending so many happy thoughts, I can't contain them all" right there in that thought bubble in the center using the Positively Saturated Ocean ink. I'm going to clean my stamp. We're going to move that one, and then I'm going to grab some other sentiments to fill in a couple more places. Now I know I want to use a couple of girl images from the Big Day stamp set from the Stamp Timber release. I thought they were so cute. I've had some requests to use these stamp sets, and so I thought this would be a fun way to incorporate some imagery into mostly a sentiment style of card. Even though those talk bubbles are images, it's a very sentiment heavy design. So I'm stamping Hi Friend up at the top with the Positively Saturated Pucker ink. And right below that, we are going to stamp Just Wanted to Say Hello with the Positively Saturated Blush ink. I actually put the wrong sentiment there to start with. So we're going to kind of fit that there. So we're going to end up using 4 sentiments from the So Talkative stamp set. We'll stamp that next. I am doing this upside down. I actually stamped it upside down just because that's what worked well as far as positioning this in my MISTI. And then we want to grab our last little sentiment and we're going to stamp that with the, let me make sure I get the right name, Grapefruit Positively Saturated ink. And that says, "You make life fun." So there are our sentiments. So our background is completely built. Now it's time for embellishments. I've stamped 2 girls and a little floral image from the Big Day stamp set. Yes, I didn't stamp the entire image. I kind of stamped it off this edge of a scrap of Nina heavyweight smooth cardstock. And that's because they're going to hang off the bottom edge, so I don't have to worry about the whole thing. I have listed the marker colors I'm using to color in my images across the top of the screen and on my blog post, so you can check that for easy reference. I think these images are so super sweet and cute. I love all their little dresses. There's 2 stamp sets that are kind of similar. There's the dancing one and then this Big Day one. You can use these images with the greetings that come in that stamp set, or you can use them with other stamp sets like I'm doing here. They're just a great little way to add some interest to our card design. And I picked them because I thought I could color in their dresses in Copic marker colors that would complement or coordinate with our background. So for the face, I did E11, 13, and R20. For her hair on the first girl, I'm using E50, 55, and 57. And then her dress is going to be a peachy pinkish red dress that matches the cheeky ink that we used for the background, the cheeky blush and pucker inks. That's going to be our 30, 32, and 35, which is one of my very favorite color combinations. And that's going to be her dress and the little collar. And I will add like some little pleating detail into her skirt, but I want to get my color laid down first. So I kind of add in some flicking or feathering motions to start, and then I build the color up. So that's R35, now's R32. There are coordinating dies for all of the images in Big Day. There's actually 3 girl images, lots of florals, banners, all of that good stuff. I'm only using a small snippet of what comes in here, but it's a very fun, versatile set. Now I'm going to blend out her dress with R30. R30 has a lot of colorless blender. So be careful not to oversaturate the paper too much. And then I'm going back in and making those pleats with R35. And yes, Odin has to be in my lap again. So if you hear him, that is what is going on. And he makes a lot of snorting noises. R35 for the collar of her dress, and I'm not even going to bother coloring all the way to the bottom because a lot of that will get trimmed off. For the leaves and the little floral arrangement, I'm using YG17 and YG21, one of my favorite color combinations for kind of a limey green type of leaf or greenery or whatever the case may be. It matches the celery color of the ink for the talk bubble perfectly. Then we're going to move on to the other girl's dress. I think I do first. We're going to use Y17, 15, and 11 for her dress. This is going to help pull in a little more of that yellow. Since I only had the one yellow talk bubble, I definitely wanted to hit some yellow in her dress so that everything was nice and balanced. So Y17 first, Y15, and then finally finishing with Y11. For her face, I used the same E13 and 11, but I used E00 as my lightest color. And again, R20 for her cheeks. I think their faces are so cute. Just making sure, taking my time with the coloring or in the blending, bringing that color down her neck. And then the hands, even though I don't think the hands are going to be seen in this image. They are seen in the other girl, but not this one. Now I'm trying to find the perfect color for the eyelids on my girls, and I ended up with BV, Blue Violet 01. We're just going to touch that to the eyelids. Gives them a nice little bluish violet tint to them. Adding some pleats into the yellow girl's dress. And then we're going to go back with our reds and color in the large flower in that little floral swag there with the red colors are 35, 32, and 30. We will also do the yellows for one of the flowers. And then for the final flower, I actually opted to grab some orange markers for that one. I may come back to that orange flower. For the hair on my second girl, I'm going to use E0 or E18, then E09, and finally E50 for the light highlighted areas of her hair. I'm going to just feather that in. It almost has a little reddish tint to it, which I thought was kind of fun. So there's the E18. We're going to pull that out with E09. That definitely has a lot more red to it. And then the highlight areas will just go in very lightly with E50. Once I have them colored, I will take the coordinating dies and I will die cut all of my images. I'm going to pop the girls and the florals up on my background with foam adhesive, add a scattering of heart accents, and that is it. We have a very fun, happy, and bright card showcasing the Simon Says Stamp October 2021 card kit. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Simon Says Stamp products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.